We're back talking with Gary Roberts, the new Chief Constable of the Isle of Man. You haven't really been challenged over the last few years when you were Chief Constable, have you? Deputy Chief Constable. Do you think you're ready for that big occasion? I mean, it's only a matter of time. It's a thing, isn't it, when you'll get one of those big cases where you will have to lead from the front?
I think one of the successes we've had in recent years is keeping ourselves out of the headline. I'm conscious that you can be overtaken by events. I think it was Harold Macmillan, when he was the Prime Minister, said, events, dear boy, that's the thing that catches you out. And you often have no control over that. What we've been very good at in the last few years is spotting things early and dealing with them. And we've dealt with some really significant stuff. During my time as Deputy, we had the Domain Road fire, which was the biggest criminal investigation of its kind we've undertaken. We've had the Douglas East by-election, which has been an incredibly complex thing. And we're dealing all the time with real pressures in terms of the safeguarding of young people, in terms of drug trafficking, in terms of financial crime. Most of them are hidden from the public view, and we're challenged quite a lot, but fortunately we're not challenged publicly.
And the way the force has dealt with the media has obviously been changing a lot. I mean, now with the social media, you can access the public directly. Have you found that quite an interesting way that things are moving? I
think it's one of the biggest challenges in policing in the next few years, how we deal with managing public expectations through social media. I've set a little group of people up who are producing a new way for us to deal with the public through social media. So we're going to be doing more on Facebook. We're going to probably be doing more on Twitter. We're going to open ourselves up. There are big risks in it, and there are risks to the professional integrity of the force. Young officers in particular can make themselves vulnerable because they do daft things on social media. So we've got to balance those risks with actually, this is what the public wants. The generations that are coming through now want to deal in social media, so we have to, and I want to put the constabulary right at the front of that.
You've been on the record saying that you will deal with the good and the bad, and therefore the ugly, I suppose, about not just giving out this sort of press release once a month that the crime figures are dropping again. I mean, you're saying that, but it's another thing actually to do it.
I think there's too much focus on crime figures. My definition of a crime is written down in a book, but your definition as a member of the public might not be. And so it becomes a very subjective debate. Crime has fallen almost continuously since about 1999. We're probably about 45% down in crime terms from the turn of the century.
But what sort of crime was that? I mean, it's a generalisation. Was it serious crime? Is there such a thing in the Isle of Man, or was we talking about petty crime?
The interesting thing in the Isle of Man is that when there is a building boom, we have more serious crime. We have more assaults, we have more serious assaults, we have more drug activity because there's money in the economy, because we have itinerant workers who come here for a short time, who might leave their families in the UK or in Ireland, and they drink heavily, they work hard, but they play hard, and they cause problems. So if you look back to building boom in the early 90s, for example, we had lots of serious assaults. We're not experiencing that at the moment. And sometimes the police are naive when we indicate that we've reduced crime. I'm not convinced that we're the prime agency in reducing crime. Crime changes. If you look at, go back 20 years, we had far more burglaries than we have now. One of the reasons was it was easier to dispose of televisions and microwaves and things like that. Now, why steal one? Why go into someone's home and steal one when you can buy a microwave for £25? So the market has changed, so patterns of crime change. Offending in the Isle of Man is influenced by the weather, so if we have a hot summer, we have more crime. We've had 3 or 4 wet summers, so we've had fairly tranquil summers. So I want to take us away from counting crime, if I can, to looking at the quality of the work that the constabulary does, and for me that's more important.
Diversity is a big sort of buzzword. You have failed yet to get anyone that's not white, and I don't know if you've got a gay policeman or not, or that sort of thing, but you know, it is a white group you are. It's
the constabulary should reflect the community. We, in our last selection process, saw people coming through from different ethnic backgrounds, and at some point in the future we will appoint people from different ethnic backgrounds. What was really interesting for me last time was we had second generation Filipino people, second generation Polish people who've gone to school here, who are now on the verge of joining the constabulary, and that for me is really, really important. As regards sexuality, there are officers in this constabulary who are really comfortable for people to know their sexuality. And that to me is a significant thing. We have a very healthy culture in terms of inclusivity and diversity in the constabulary. And what the public might not know is a couple of years ago I set up an independent external scrutiny body that looks at the work we do in the community in terms of inclusivity. So that's race, religion, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation. That body scrutinises the work we do externally, but it's also now started looking at what we do internally, and that's really important. And the range of work is considerable. We had some officers assaulted by an autistic teenager, and we realised that we didn't understand how to deal with autistic young people. So officers all have now had training in how to deal with autism and how to respond to something that might involve an autistic young person. And that's a significant different way of doing things for the police.
You get into the police force now, and it's a job for life. And like in any organisation, there are some bad apples in there. In the past, it's been well documented the time that Culverhouse, for instance, had to overhaul procedures and people. You presumably still got some people you'd like to get rid of, no doubt, but is it a doable thing, or do you have to just put up with bad coppers?
The criminal justice bill that's about to appear in Tynwald has a clause in it that enables the Department of Home Affairs to make new regulations for the governance of the police. That's absolutely crucial to me, because that will bring in an entirely new way of managing the constabulary, and it will bring it into line with modern standards. You're right to say that at the moment many officers have a job for life, and lazy and inefficient officers are very difficult to deal with. Thankfully we don't have too many of them, but we do have one or two. The new regulations will allow me to get rid of people who don't have the values that the rest of us have, who don't work hard, who don't do their best for the people of the Isle of Man, and that's really, really important.
Well, anyway, we'll leave it there. It's been fascinating talking to you. Today is your big day. You've got, I think, 40 guests going into the courts starting, and the cameras are being allowed in, which is a very big first. How do you feel at the time?
I think this is really nice for young people who join the constabulary, who can look at me and say, I want to do that. I can aspire to be the Chief Constable. When I joined in 1984, it was inconceivable that someone from the Isle of Man would be the Chief Constable. So it's nice that for young people in particular, that there's something that they can aspire to.